Mr. Panagiotis Ladakakos is next, president of the Hellenic Wind Energy Association, and I will just say one keyword, offshore wind.
Αφορά για την άρτια εκδήλωση και όλη αυτή τη διοργάνωση και τη μεγάλη συμμετοχή του κόσμου.
Thank you for the invitation. It's an honor to participate in this panel. I would like to start with a few positive messages, because the glass is half full. After many efforts, many years of difficulties, we indeed have 11.5 giga in the country. Each one of these gigawatts was difficult to achieve. Now, we have established renewables as a clean form of energy. Just a couple of years ago, during the crisis, this had been disputed. So we should admit that we are a front-runner country in terms of RES deployment. The only risk is that we may become victims of our success. What we have been observing recently is too much heat on the market. Many talk about a bubble. Indeed, we have a lot of challenges ahead of us, and having surpassed 40% of production, we are at a different level, at a higher level as a country. So I would like, in this sense, to focus on some points that are critical for this next level. There are technical issues that we need to look at in a technocratic way. And one important issue for all those developing RES projects is the inadequate electrical space. We need to open up the pie. We cannot be fighting for electrical space. So how can we open up the electrical space? One way is something that we do support as well, electrical connections to Central Europe. Green Aegean is a project that goes in this direction. It is very important. It will create a bigger pie. Now, I heard this morning the minister say some important things. I also listened very carefully to the Secretary General. We heard about the offers, grid connection offers, the electrical space, how it will be allocated from now on. Technically speaking, all this is right, but one should also respect the priorities that have been served until now. The market cannot be, there cannot be such surprises on the market. No matter if the rules are changing for the better or the worse, it's always creating, this change that is creating uncertainty, and there always needs to be consultation with the market players. This is something that we should always bear in mind. There's a myth revolving around the issue of electrical space. It is said that electrical space needs to be cleaned up because some are holding on electric space. I know no such project. Maybe some projects are not doing what they should do, but the projects that are taking up electrical space have submitted guarantees, and nobody has the money to just sit on guarantees. Deadlines are changing constantly. Sometimes it is very difficult to observe them. So the projects that are taking up electrical space, from what we see as the Hellenic Association of Wind Energy, we see that most players find it difficult to respond to the deadlines, and they ask for such expansions because usually the delays are the responsibility of the administration. I am talking about local services, of course. I'm not talking about the central services of the ministry. I don't want you to misunderstand me. When I do want you to misunderstand me, I will tell you so. I understand this myth about a lot of gigawatt sitting around and not being utilized, but this is a myth that is being developed by those who are not directly involved in the field. We cannot have everything. Those who have locked certain deadlines need to respect them. And if there's unfair treatment of these players, then they are entitled to extensions, deadline extensions. Now, another big discussion is about the curtailments. We should be quite rational when we talk about curtailments, because right now there is no such problem. It is right to discuss openly the issue of curtailments, but we should define the size of the problem now and act accordingly before more problems are created. So curtailments is a big discussion, but on the other hand, we should be aware of the fact that a strong RES penetration cannot be achieved without curtailments. You cannot look at your neighbor constantly and see if there are curtailments of this wind park or the other wind park. We should respect the rights granted by the EU regulation, and the ministry should set up a committee dedicated to the issue of curtailments, because this is something that is provided for by the EU regulation. We are not asking anything more than what is granted by EU legislation. If these issues are resolved efficiently, then curtailments will not be any risk, will not mean any risk for planned investments. Otherwise, there could be a huge impact on the atmosphere. When talking about curtailments, there's also an elephant in the room. The elephant in the room are all the projects that are linked, that are connected with HEDNO, or the projects that are connected with the IPTO. And excuse my saying so, but we need a level playing field for everyone. You cannot have some subject to curtailment for their projects and then for other projects that are not subject to curtailment because they belong to the smart guys, let's say. So it is not easy to curtail projects. There are tools. We have proposed to the ministry a certain tool to manage this issue of curtailment. Whoever wants more details, I'm at your disposal. Now, the wind industry is suffering. I am speaking about all the European manufacturers who are still in the red figures, and we have to protect the European industry as much as possible. One of the problems that had a fallout on European industry was the lack of indexing. This lack of indexing had, as a result, a lot of projects throughout the world and also in Greece to not be able to be carried out because of the huge increase of investment cost. In the first 2 years of operation, the climate was good. I understand that we can expect in the next days some announcements about this issue. And one last comment about the offshore wind parks. There has been a lot of delay, but it's never too late, especially for the floating wind parks. There's a very good initiative of the Energy Ministry and the EP. We agreed to the proposals. If the institutional framework needs any fine-tuning, this should be done, and we do believe that it needs a fine-tuning. But the important issue here is the supply chain. In PV, we have missed the opportunity in the supply chain, but the important thing here is to have Greek companies account for a large part of the supply chain. We have an event with companies that manufacture pillars, cables, and all the companies that are involved around the supply chain will be invited at this event very soon, and we want to discuss with foreign players who are already advanced in this respect. We will discuss this challenge. We heard 55% domestic share. We calculate it even higher. Anyway, we need to participate in this race, especially at this period where there is a deglobalization trend. There's a certain protectionism, and I mean it in a good way, in the whole of Europe. These few remarks from my side, and I am at your disposal for questions.